Okay, welcome to another show of Politics, or Politics You Decide, with Brother Tula Cabon and Brother Justin Barnett.
Yes,
and, And we have an outstanding guest, Mr. Jonathan Kenlock. He's running for District 2 for Wayne County Commissioner. We're excited for him to be here. So, okay.
Let's give it up to him. Let's
go there first. And y'all know what I always say. You know, I always have to put this out here. And if you hear the sound of my voice, that means God has blessed you to see another day. Prayers go up, blessings come down. So I always start the show out that way. So without further ado, let Justin see what he got to say. Good brother, go ahead.
Oh, Jonathan Kenlock, it's an honor for you to come to the show. I want to give y'all a clap again.
No doubt.
Let's go. Let's go.
No doubt.
Northwestern High School. Yeah. Come on.
Big N.O. That's where it all started, back there.
So I want to read a little bit. Now listen, and I'm just saying this out of respect. And I'm saying this, and please, I get justice what justice is due. That's the kind of person I am. When I read his bio, I was absolutely amazed. He's the modern day Imhotep. Anybody know about Imhotep in Africa? I always tell people we can multitask. Mr. Jonathan Kenlock is a perfect example of black excellence as far as all his achievements and accomplishments. So let me just read some of them. Commissioner Jonathan C. Kenlock is dedicated public servant, currently serving his second term as Wayne County Commissioner. He holds a significant role as the chair of the Committee of Ways and Means and is an active member of several other committees, including the Committee on Public Service, Committee on Economical Development, and Committee on Public Safety, Judiciary, and Homeland Security. And let's keep going. The Commissioner Kenlock serves as Vice Chair of Special Committees on the Criminal Justice Complex and is a member of the Special Committee on Behavioral Health. His work in the communities help ensure fair and equitable treatment for all residents, particularly in the areas of criminal justice and mental health. His dedication to these issues contributes to the overall well-being and safety of the community. Let's keep going. Commissioner Kenlock's influence extends nationally as he serves on the U.S. Global Leadership Coalition, known as the acronym USGLC, Michigan Advisory Committee, is Vice Chair of Finances, Pension, and Intergovernment Affairs, Stern Committee, and is Vice Chair of the Large Urban County Caucus, acronym LUCC, for the National Association of County Officials, NACO acronym. He also is the chair of the 13th Congressional District Democratic Party and the 3rd Vice Chair of Michigan Democratic Party. Important right here. Yes. His faith is an integral part. Listen, can I get amen on that?
Amen. Amen.
His faith is an integral part of his life, and he is a member of Triumph Church in Detroit.
Let's go.
Okay.
Let's go. Come on.
So and I ain't even finished, but that's it. I'm just going to leave it there. Hey. Okay, Mr. Kenlock, so can you now introduce yourself to the people?
Thank you. So I'm Jonathan Kenlock, and I'm a lifelong Detroiter. Grew up in the area called the Old West Side, for those folks who know about the whole Tyron, Stanford, and the Number Street area. Went to Northwestern High School, and that's where I first got started in Northwestern High School in volunteering in politics. I was an intern for the late, great Irma L. Henderson, who was the council president. I started with her when I was in the 9th grade. I was on Northwestern High School Student Council and just understood the importance of making sure my voice was heard. And then not only my voice, but made sure that I was able to speak up for others who had similar sort of issues as myself. From Northwestern, I had I learned so much from the teachers and just from that whole experience, but also the experience of growing up in my neighborhood. Mm-hmm. Because back in that day, we had block clubs all over the city of Detroit. The whole city was it was organized. Mm-hmm. And so you had a lot of, you didn't have one active group, you didn't have activists in single parts of the city. You had activists all over who spoke up for their communities. And so I graduated from high school. I enrolled into Wayne State. I started working at Trend Industries. Trend Industries, which was a metal fabricating company, similar to what it was one of the competitors of Dave Bing Industries. And so eventually I began to build and relationships with a number of different folks, and I had an experience and an opportunity to meet the recording groups, various recording groups, back in the early 90s, and eventually I wound up going into the music industry.
Awesome.
So I started road managing for High Five, Jive RCA recording group High Five, and then I became the manager. And then later I went on to become co-owner of 2000 Watts Music, where we started producing music. We did Busta Rhymes, Janet Jackson, My Body, LSG, just a host of 300 some odd songs. So that was a great experience. But through all of that experience, I never ever gave up my interest in making sure my voice was heard in politics. So I stayed engaged, stayed involved, even as I traveled around the country. Now I came back home, and then I began to continue to be involved in politics. And so in 2015, I became chair of the 13th Congressional District. At that time, Congressman John Conyers was the congressman. And later, Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib succeeded him, and now we have Congressman Sri Thanadar. I also, as you mentioned, am as vice chair, third vice chair of the Michigan Democratic Party, and it's important in all of these roles to make sure that we speak up when necessary. And I saw that, some people like to sit on boards and commissions just to sit there. I sit there and make sure that whatever experiences, whatever opportunities that I'm able to make better from those positions and those roles, I try to make a difference in that. And so in 2017, I was appointed to the Wayne County Board of Canvassers, in which in 2020, when you had Donald Trump, who lost Michigan's election, chose to basically deny that he lost that election, but he also tried to call into Detroit. So as they're talking about Donald Trump and the issues around him relating to elections, Detroit had a direct impact and was directly, I should say, directly impacted by Donald Trump and his denying. But not only did he deny that he lost the election, he actually called two of my colleagues on the County Board of Canvassers to convince them to change their vote from certifying the election to not certifying the election, which would mean that not only Detroit's votes would have not have been counted, in which they initially wanted to do, but the entire Wayne County's votes would not have been counted. And so myself and my Democratic colleague, we convinced the Republicans to do the right thing. And then once the election was certified, of course, the rest is history. He has continued to deny that he lost the election in Michigan and lost the election across the country. So that's me in a nutshell, but I try to condense a lot of it.
So I want to ask, okay, it's a few questions.
That's
off the script. Great job.
That's real.
I mean,
that's real right there.
You got more stuff than that, right?
Come on.
You're a professor. So, and I said, so let me ask you this, because some people don't understand that in schools, your career to start out molding yourself to be what you want to be, to start in high school. For instance, you joined student council. That taught you how to be a leader, how to speak, how to take concerns. Now look where you are now.
Yes.
Absent that, you feel it would have took you longer to become the person that you are, as far as being able to focus and understand how to take issue, departmentalize them for people. Let me ask you that.
Good question.
Let me say this. God has blessed me with the opportunity, and this is what I tell people, that find something that you enjoy doing, whatever it is. Whatever it is, find something that you enjoy doing. Because if you master that and master that craft, and not chase after money, if you just master the craft, the money and all of those benefits will come along. It's people who are always chasing after that dollar that never seem to get and find satisfaction. So what I didn't say was that I started Wayne State University. And while I was at Wayne State University, I had to make a decision. I had to make a decision whether to stay in school or look at this opportunity to go on the road and manage a recording group and to work for myself and to be able to build a company and opportunities for myself. I had to decide whether to stay in school or to go work for myself. And I made the decision to go and work for myself. And so what you just said is so important, because what I did was learn from some of the greatest minds in the recording music industry who took me under their wings and taught me the business of music. I had opportunity to work with and meet a number of the folks that folks are talking about right now, including Sean Puffy Combs. He and I have been friends for a number of years, even back when he was an intern at Uptown. People forget about that, when he was Andre Harrell's intern. And he not only was an intern, but he was the person that was doing all the A&R for Uptown and back in those days, and eventually grew off into who he is now. Even you have Michael Kaiser, who was an intern at Def Jam, and who's now the president of Atlantic Music Group. So it was an opportunity to be a part of making music history during those days. But like you said, it started in high school, that passion of understanding not only the art of government, because Irma Henderson, when I interned for her, the first thing she did, like imagine a ninth grader, giving them the city charter, the 1973 charter, and telling them to read it and give you a report back on it. I'm like, I don't know what this is. You know what I'm saying? No. So I read it and then gave her a report back explaining, and she was very impressed with what I did. And what she also did under that internship, she introduced me and made phone calls herself, introducing me to every one of the city department heads. And that's how I was able to meet Benny Napoleon when he was over at Gang Squad when I was at Northwestern High School, because there was an issue after a football game. You know, always fighting over at Northwestern. But back then, so they had a fight of football after a football game, at a football game. And so I met with Benny Napoleon, caught the bus and met him at the McGraw station that was over there. Used to be the old 6th precinct. And then so he drove me back home because I caught the bus over there, and we built a relationship all the way up until his passing. But it is so important for you to begin at an early age to find out what your interest is. Because look, I never would have thought, because in high school at that time, as I was volunteering involved, I wanted to be a physicist. I wanted to be a physicist. I actually joined the science fair, and I was very active in the science program at Northwestern, and eventually politics. And then also, you got to keep in mind, there's no way you could be from Detroit and not be influenced by music, the love of music, and the history of music.
Absolutely.
Because our motivation was, if they could do it, you can too.
Yes.
And that was right down the street from Northwestern High School, and a lot of those talented, legendary superstars would come to Northwestern because they used to attend Northwestern, and and speak to classes in the auditorium. So I'm just saying, Detroit in high school, and I tell people I'm married to Detroit because Detroit has taught me so much, not only myself, my family. You talk about my brother. We grew up in what we call the church corridor, over there on Stanford between Milford and Moore, over there on 30th between Cobb and Milford. So you had Hartford Memorial Church there.
Memorial Baptist
right there.
Church.
St. Stephen,
right off of St.
Tabernacle, Tabernacle Baptist Church, John Wesley. So those were we grew up in that church community. Everyone over there went to church on Sunday mornings. And not only that, we had the opportunity to have my brother's godmother, who attended Clinton Street Greater Bethlehem Temple Church of the Apostolic Faith. And so we used to go there, and that's why I got baptized I got baptized first at 9, then at 13. My mother said, "Boy, you better stop getting baptized." But the point is that whole experience of the high school experience and the whole experience through my teenage years is what really created the path and the passion for me to be doing the things I'm doing today.
I think so. I just wanted something you said that's key, and a lot of people don't understand that, Mr. Kenlock, is that interning is important, right? I used to do paralegal work for lawyers, And a lot of people want to get paid for what they do now. And sometimes you got to volunteer your service to learn the craft, like I did, and I became good at it. And back then, what you said, you volunteered and you interned at ninth grade. She's like, hey, you need to go read this. So what if you would have said, oh, no, I ain't going to do that. You got to pay me. Would you be where you are now?
Right.
So I think we need to really focus in on encouraging people, no matter you're in college, whether you older, you want to get at your craft. And what I'm asking is, sometimes is it best that we ask, hey, can we just intern for you, learn the trade? Then that's all I want to do, and that'll kind of get you in the door to where you want to go.
In the recorded music industry, to get a foot or in a pathway of real opportunity, everybody had to start out as an intern. That's a rule there. In order to really get in there, it's very few folks, the finance and some of those other licensing parts of the industry, the law department, legal department, but every place, even in the legal department, they had interns in there. Let me just say this. Interning demonstrates to the person that you're committed to it.
Yeah.
That you really have it on the inside of something you want to do. Because if you're willing to do something for free, if you're willing to show that you have a passion and do it as if you were getting paid, that speaks volumes on who you are and who I need to be seen as a potential candidate for any paid opportunities that that might show itself. Let me just say this. In my office, because of what I learned in the music industry and because of my own experience, everyone who worked for me in my office started out as an intern. Started out as an intern, at least like a 6-month internship, unpaid, but to learn and see if they have a feel and a real passion for county government and just for government and you know, specifically, you know, I'm just saying, so because government can be tough. Government can be long and it can be frustrating because people who don't understand the processes come to you and demand results and results now and don't care about processes and what you have to do. They want it done and done now. And so you have to have thick skin in public service, and you have to have the ability to listen to people and then to be able to interpret what it is that they may need in order to accomplish the goals that they're seeking.
Now, so I want to ask another question because I believe association brings about similarity to a certain degree, and I think a lot of people don't understand, particularly because you know I associate with people like Justin who we spar, but I learn, and I feel what you did. You said, okay, hey, I'm an intern, but I'm finna learn.
Correct.
I'm finna hang around people that know, and what I said was this. I said this because I always say this. Mr. Kellogg, you could have been doing 40 different things. Yes. I'm confident.
I did do. So I'm joking.
I'm joking. That's true.
No, I'm joking. I'm joking. They crack jokes on that.
No, that's fine. He did do 4 different things. But what I mean, I know you was in a position, because sometimes he was brother talk, that you could have been persuaded to do something criminal. You know, you said, no, I'm straight. Let me stay focused. And it's because you had a circle. So my question is, now, is it important that we surround ourselves with people who's encouraging and motivate us to move forth, even when we think we fail, we still succeed.
Another
because
good
you
point.
learn from the thing.
Another good point.
Let me say this. You're absolutely, you are the company you keep. That's what we were taught. Cliches are cliches for a reason. They have been proven to be true. Sayings that have been said over and over have been proven to be true. And let me, you know, the path I took also had an influence, a lot of influence was from my mother and father. My mother, Dillon, South Carolina. My father from Hughie, South Carolina, the Low Country, and they demanded you to be responsible and accountable to them during my teenage years. And a lot of times, these young people nowadays aren't accountable to anyone.
Right.
And so there's no real guidance in a system in making decisions and choices. You know, children should not pick their friends. I remember we used to say, dang, we can't never have no friends. You always pick your parents are absolutely supposed to choose your friends because your parents see it from a different lens as far as where a person will potentially go that you may not be able to see.
Right.
And so my parents didn't let us hang around knuckleheads. One, and then once you get that in you, instilled in you, I hung around my church friends, the folks, and then the folks in the neighborhood. I hung around people who were of like mind,
right.
You know what I'm saying, who wanted to do stuff, who were dreamers. And that's, I think, what we need to bring back here, dreamers, and encourage our young people to look at people who
Yes.
who are looking for more. My mother used to say, just because you're poor, you don't have to act like it. Just because you're poor, you don't have to stay poor and act poor and whatnot. What you do is my mother used to tell us not to hold our head down. That's why my big head, my mother always tell me, hold your head up. Don't be holding your head down. I mean, like, dang, so all of those little, my brother may have talked about that as well, be yourself, don't try to be nobody else. We used to hear these things over and over from my mother. You be the leader. You don't let nobody influence. You don't be no follower. You be the leader. And so I think hearing that from my parents and whatnot, because of course we made some bad mistakes and stuff growing up and stuff and got our butt whooped. And then even as an adult, in the music industry, I'm just going to say this, in the music industry, in New York, when you're in LA, it's a natural thing. After you get driven around car service, you have car service accounts. You get driven around to different parties and different things. So nobody in New York drove, and nobody in LA drive to go out. But I came back here full time. I would get car services and whatnot and drive. But then you had a situation where friends like, dang, you flossing, you trying to be big dog. And, So then I caved to the pressure, and so I started driving. So I had my drunk driving experience, and so you learn from that. So we all have made mistakes, but what you don't do is let those actions of being irresponsible define who you are for the rest of your life. Right. And so I'm saying yes, God has been good, but He brought me a long way.
And I like that,
yes.
that you because a lot of people, man, try to make people feel bad when they make mistakes. And sometimes people fall into drug addiction, alcoholism,
absolutely,
because they can't rise up out that rut. I mean, so my thinking, because I've seen someone, I think you deal with a lot of mental health.
Yes.
So my question is, and I talk about this on my show. I got another show too. I come on Mondays, but I talk about in this show. When you see a black man on the corner that had a mental meltdown, how do that affect you as a person to know that this was a normal man who somehow just had a mental meltdown? So that's what I want to ask.
I go back to my mother, because and you talk to anybody who grew up on Stanford. So I remember as a kid, and when I say kid, I'm talking about 7, 8 years old. So the folks in the neighborhood, do you remember the folks who had big hands and stuff, who came back from Vietnam and all those things there? And so my mother, during Christmas and Thanksgiving, it wasn't just our family. People in the neighborhood would just be coming in, the drunks and all the folks there who are alcoholics, would come over and get food, get a plate and stuff. And we're like, we can't wait. My mother would say, don't you act like that. My mother used to say, let me say this to you. My mother used to say to us that, they used to be a doctor. They used to be this, that, and the other, that, and this. Don't ever think that you better than somebody else, because you could be in the same place. So my mother, so during the holidays and all the stuff there, so we had people, my mother told us, that, to understand that people go through things, but things happen to folks. And as we began to get older, we saw other family members, people who we love and who we knew, who we grew up with, wind up having drug issues and whatnot. Part of the reason that we're in the state that we're in is because we don't help one another. We don't help one another. And the first line of defense is family. That was always the situation. Family help family, and so I see a lot of what's going on in our community, but like you said, with mental health and whatnot. Instead of laughing at people, we absolutely need to get them help. And so I'm saying at an early age, my mother had taught us early on that, no, you do not look down on anybody, because it could be you, yes. And that you could have hit a bad pocket in life, made a bad decision, and you too will want and need help as well. And that was that part when I had my alcohol arrest, drunk driving arrest. And you're like, what the heck is this? How do you move from this? So no, nobody should look down on people who have made mistakes in life, especially if they've turned a corner in their life. Yeah.
So and I agree. I agree as well. I want to say something as far as you bringing up the block club as well, because I remember back in the day you used to have the block club. Yes. I remember they used to have the little lamps. They used to sit Absolutely. Right there in the front line. If you don't remember that, with the address on them. What do you think about bringing back the block club?
Well, the biggest thing that we have to do in our city, and this is something that the county executive and the commission is moving in direction to help the city of Detroit in their effort, along with other communities, the 43 communities in Wayne County, is you all remember growing up, we had a lot of home ownership.
Yeah,
all this renting stuff was it was, not that frequent. Most of the homes in our neighborhood was owned by folks. And so now we have all of this renting situation. And so I'm just saying, I mean, it's now because of the, cost of housing and interest rates, okay, it may make sense right now, but we have to get people back into home ownership. Okay. And we have to create pathways for folks to own property and real estate. And so, no, block clubs, we have to rebuild the city, not just with brick and mortar, but we have to build it as far as unity and relationships. And those block clubs, that's how we knew everybody. We knew the monthly block clubs. Right now, people live in communities where they don't even know nobody. They don't even talk to people.
Don't even know their next neighbor.
Absolutely. And so block clubs was not just something to say. It was part of our culture. It was how we would get together and have block parties it used to be once a year in the summertime, and that's where you would have the swimmobile come and the swimmobile, the bookmobile. When I was on the library commission, I made sure we kept that bookmobile and whatnot. And so the swimmobile was something that everybody, when growing up, you looked forward to that swimmobile coming through and whatnot. And so we
about the swimmobile?
Oh, absolutely, the swimmobile. I remember the swimmobile. Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
Look, the brother, look,
the swimmobile. They used to come in the neighborhood and they opened up and have the games and rides.
What about Parks too?
Parks and Recreation used to run that. But there's some things that unified people in the past that we probably just the basic things, small things that we need to take a look at. Yep. So I agree. Block clubs are so important.
So do you think that we should maybe refocus that, because I was watching the news and they're trying to create organizations that help try to tamper down crime in the community. And from what you're saying, a block club would be the way to do it. So should that be something that the city council or even the Wayne County Commissioner should pursue for as a grant, stating that we should have block clubs and have meetings with the people?
Well, they used to have these grants that they used to get out called home beautification grants, roof repair. They used to have these grants and stuff that used to be coordinated through block clubs and community associations. But a lot of those block grant dollars have now become loans, low interest or no interest or whatever loans. And so so you're right. We need to be creative. So let me just explain something about county government. Detroit gets its whole bucket of money, block grant monies and certain other federal and state dollars directly. So the county cannot can't use block grant money, HUD dollars, in the city of Detroit. It's primarily we're there as a fiduciary and a resource for communities outside of Detroit, and other cities, a few cities that may have those guidelines as well, restriction guidelines as well. So we have to, when we find opportunities, we have to find them from funds that might come in that's not as restricted as block grants. So we also can find and utilize general fund dollars. But that's, as you can imagine, you have 15 county commissioners, and if you're talking about using general fund dollars in Detroit, well, I want the same general fund dollars out there. So we have to find some middle ground, and there's one thing that I'm glad to say that we've found some middle ground of, one, putting a pocket of money for me, as you heard, small business,
Yes.
as well as, that tied to small business and the whole entrepreneurial piece. That's a whole nother conversation. We have to encourage our young people and teach them. It's not just about going to work for somebody. Find something you enjoy, master that, and and build that interest and build your own career. We talk often about going to school and coming to get a job. No, you need to go to school and come and try to find a way to work for yourself. And we have a lot of that. Create jobs and be become the Mr. Charlie. And so I think that we see a lot of these young white kids and whatnot. They go to school, they come back, they start something in their garage, and next thing you know they selling the stock on Wall Street. But we got to begin to have more confidence in ourselves and fine tune our own direction of controlling our own life and economic independence.
So if people knew better, they'd do better.
Correct.
So I agree.
So we're creating some entrepreneurial hubs at the county and partnership. I just met with the president of Wayne State, Dr. Espy. I'm gonna tell you, a remarkable woman. I just met her, and I'm telling you, she's really tapped into and tied into Detroit emotionally. And she and I were talking so much about that, and they're going to wrap their arms around Tech Town, because Tech Town, a lot of people know about it, but a lot of people don't even understand that they can have access to it. And so Wayne State is doing a rebranding and more clarification on that partnership, and also she wants us to let folks know what resources and how Wayne State exists there, right there in Detroit, as a community for opportunity. And I talked to her about the fact that I had not finished my degree and gotten a bachelor's degree or whatnot, but I've done all of this and whatnot. And she said, they're right now looking at a program to look at establishing folks, such as myself and others, who may not have finished their college education, but who has a whole life experience and wealth of knowledge where we can teach
follow
folks
things,
and so creating a pathway for folks to complete their courses. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you said something interesting. Some of our most profound leaders never graduated from college.
Absolutely.
Malcolm X, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Minister Farrakhan, Carter G. Woods. I mean, George Washington Carver. I can go on and on. Madam C.J. Walker. So the reason I say that, because in the South we was taught, if you see something that's successful, follow it.
Correct.
Ellen DeGeneres. People don't know this. She didn't graduate from college. Warren Buffett, I heard he didn't graduate. So the fact that you say it shouldn't matter. Look at his success.
Absolutely.
And follow his trail. That's how I've been taught. So my question is, I really want to bring this up.
Good point, Tula, by the way.
Thank you, good brother.
Yes.
The school system, that's how to talk.
Okay, let's go.
So
thank you.
What I'm saying is, I like what you said about the bookmobile. And you tell me if I'm wrong about the statistic. The statistics for the public schools in Detroit say that, and I'm focusing on black men, can't read at 50% of black men can't read at a proficient rate. And what I've said was that's a pathway to crime. You can't read, you're getting older, you got to pay bills. So should we kind of, and I'm from the old school, I believe you can do for self. Do for self. Stop watching videos and watch stuff on education. I'm from the South, that's what we did. We
Right.
did for self. They ain't gonna do nothing. So do you think that we need to kind of be stingy on telling people after school, you going over here we going to Pastor Kenlock Church, we got an after school program and we gonna feed you, but you finna go over here for an hour and get tutored. Push books through the school. Start that bookmobile. You can't read no matter what age you are. It's okay. We got a system set up for you. Should we go back to that?
Yes.
Back to basics. back to basics. Reading, writing, and arithmetic. We talk about the schools. So you just had a senatorial candidate, U.S. senatorial candidate in the studio. We're talking about the presidential election. but the most impactful and most important election that people just don't understand. But our parents did, because they used to pack school board meetings. The most important election for the future is the Board of Education election. They said, see, we don't get it. You see all of those Republicans, those right-wing Republicans taking over it and running over those school boards because they understand the influence and the power of education. But I'm going to just tell you something. We look at all of these glossy other positions, but the Board of Education, we need to make sure that we put people on the school board who have ideas, like what you just said, who have ideas. The Library Commission, people don't understand it. The members of the Library Commission are appointed by the Board of Education, not the mayor or city council. They're appointed by the Board of Education because the board members were also the Detroit Board of Education members were also the Library Commission members, as well as they are Detroit Public Schools is the entity that created Wayne State University.
Wow.
That's what people don't realize. In education, at its most basic place, K-12 is so important. And all of these conversations, you're talking about crime, you're talking about young people. As we have seen young people become, and like I'm on a, like you said, county commission, you have young people at ages that we would have never imagined in the JDF for crimes that's heinous. These young people shooting and killing people. Yeah. You know, and part of it is because, like you said, their minds, they have underdeveloped minds, and we have failed as a broad community. And when you have young people committing crimes, it's not just their parents, it's all of us. It's as a community, as a society. Because we supposed to have wraparound programs to address that. Where you know, when we saw folks in neighborhoods when we were growing up that didn't have food and stuff, they used to come over to our house to eat. They used to come over and do our homework with us, you know what I'm saying, and whatnot, because they had folks that were drinking and stuff. I ain't gonna name names, but folks who spent the night and stayed at our home to get up and eat and stuff. And my mother did their hair. I'm saying, so we somehow that whole village thing has gone away, and that's why we see so many issues that's going on rampant in our community. But we got to go back to the basics. Bookmobiles, reading. I didn't tell you that my Aunt Nina Theodosia Johnson, I used to, you remember those penny books, Lewis and Moore and all that stuff there? I used to order those books and stuff. I thought they came free, the magazines and stuff, you know, so your science.
For $1, you get the whole thing.
Guess what?
Right.
I used to order these books and stuff, and and you know, they sent a bill. My Aunt Nina paid them. I didn't even know that until I thought they were free. But she said if I was reading and, you know, and trying to get an education, she didn't care and she paid for it. She liked that, you know. So I thought, you know, I would just, anything, I just fill a book out I want to get, and then she would just, I later found out that she was paying them. I thought those books, you got them for free. Yeah, but you're so correct. We have a lot of work to do as black people. We have a lot of work to do as a community, and it goes back to basics, reading and reaching out to not just our own family, but reaching out to our neighbors as well.
Well, I mean, because the recidivism rate in prison, it's estimated that I think that over 70% of the people who go to prison aren't high school graduates, and that's a low number. So they force them to go in there and get a GED and they learn, and brothers rehabilitate themselves. So my thing is, why not stop it before it happens, like what you're saying? You know, set up these programs. We can do that. Now, I got to ask this question. Do you feel that people want to say, mind your business, lady? Other words, when we should intervene, we don't intervene. We should be, as you said, take a village around child. When you're talking about your mom, I feel like you're talking about my mom. Because my mom was the same way. And you laughed at somebody that was a little bit overweight. Wow, what you laughing at? Yes. People used to come to my house to eat. She didn't see nobody she didn't like until the day she passed away. I know people that was on drugs. She used to invite them over. Yes. And you better not say nothing.
Right.
So we need that type of morality, and I feel like that's gone. So we need people like you, right, to get out and promote that concept. That's why we want you, because we need that. We need that type of image. So do you think that we should be structuring programs, more mentoring programs that embodies everybody in the community, as opposed to narrowing it down to young, old, women? We say, no, anybody can come, because we need a revamp in our community. What do you think about that?
I agree. I agree that what you're saying, that we need to focus on programs that are really mentoring folks. But like you said, you mentioned earlier that folks, boom, mind your own business. But it's not just,
Go ahead.
Not just mind your own business. We also have to make sure that people are authentic and genuine in those things there, because we're also in a space right now where men and women are taking advantage of young people. And so that's the thing, that we're taking advantage of young people. We saw, you know, a lot of times they look at, I'm talking about the mentorship. You got to make sure that it's true and authentic.
Right.
Because right now we have a lot of folks who are not authentic and taking advantage of these young, vulnerable folks. So, and that's the thing there. I was watching something the other day where you had a conversation of a number of teachers, female teachers, who were violating young men. And so yeah, we got to have mentorship programs, but we got to make sure it's authentic, because we're seeing a lot of folks cloaking behind mentorship, things that are not healthy and beneficial to our community.
So we got about 3 or 4 more minutes. So let me say this. So we have you being the chief. Hey, these are mentors. Anybody got any problems, let me know.
Correct. Absolutely.
So I think if we have that type of
Yes.
guard dog, where we can say, hey, don't worry about that.
Mm-mm.
Don't let them intimidate you. Ain't nothing going to happen to you.
Absolutely.
So I think if we do it that way. So I got to ask the elephant in the room.
Yes.
And people don't know about what happened in 2020. A lot of people just forgot about it. I did.
Yes.
I remember seeing you making that statement on how Donald Trump called them canvases, them 2 white canvases that was on the canvassing board for the city of Detroit. And they voted. Then they tried to take their vote back, and they recorded it. And he still say the Detroit votes are illegitimate. I don't know how. Can you tell the people what you went through? Because you explained to me, and people got to understand, this is Mississippi courage the brother displaying. So go ahead, good brother. Can you explain that about him calling down here and what he did? Because it's not really talked about. All they talk about is Georgia. Let's talk about Detroit.
November 17th, 2020, the County Board of Canvassers, which is the body that certified the election. Basically, we're supposed to review what's in front of us, review what was on the tape, review basically, it's like an audit, and then just certify it. No decisions to make, just certify it. On that day, you had 2 Republicans who were appointed by the Republican Party and 2 Democrats appointed by the Democratic Party. We met to do our job, certify the election. That's like watching paint dry. That's what it was supposed to be. That's usually what it was, because it was just basically making sure folks did what they were supposed to do from an auditing standpoint. So I made a motion to certify the election as we normally would, and you have to have a person from the opposite party to support it. It was silence. I'm like, it was absolute silence. So they refused to certify, and they kept talking about how Detroit had a lot of irregularities. I'm like, what are you talking about? Your community, Grosse Pointe, had more irregularities than Detroit, and it was cured. There were nothing illegal or improperly done. We saw that through the canvass. And so what you had a situation where the 2 Republicans basically voted not to certify, and then I talked to them, convinced them, plus the citizens called in, hundreds of folks called in about their rights being voting rights being disenfranchised and all that. And then I made a subsequent motion to certify the election. So we certified. They left the meeting, went to their car, and Donald Trump called them. And basically, because they were supposed to come in and sign some paperwork. We have to sign the certification paperwork. So they went to the car. Donald Trump, the president of the United States, called folks he never met before in the parking lot right there on Jefferson and St. Albans, and talked to them and tried to convince them. We heard it later. We recently got someone had taped the conversation. Told them not to go back in. He told them not to go back in and complete the certification process, thinking that it would have thrown all of Detroit, all of Wayne County's votes out. And so, like you said, people keep talking about what happened in Georgia, Arizona, all these other places, but it was here, right here, where we have on audio, Donald Trump telling folks to go back in, that not to go back in, that he'll get them a lawyer, and they thought what they did would throw chaos into the process, but unfortunately it didn't matter, because that was the last day, and then we had voted and we waived reconsideration, and then I, as vice chair, was able to sign the certification and send it to the Secretary of State.
Let's go.
And so, the last thing, because we got like about a minute, tell them about the threats you went through. How people was calling you threatening.
Oh, they were calling me. I got phone calls from folks saying that calling Detroit's, bogus elections. I remember I got a call. Somebody asked, "Where you live at? Where you live at?" And I said, "I live at 6353 Stanford Street. You can meet me at me there at 3 a.m. That's when the noise happened." And then that's when the noise happened. That's what I told them. I said, if you're not familiar with that area, it's the area called the Number Streets. Yeah.
All right,
Let's go.
Mr. Kenlock, we got to wrap it up. Listen, good brother, we pray that you come back. Good luck.
Thank you. Reach out to me anytime.
Yes, sir. Good luck Tuesday on the election. You are definitely the incumbent. It was a joy talking to you.
Thank you.
You know, I could talk to you for 4 hours straight. But thank you so much for coming.
This was great.
And Justin, you got anything to say?
I definitely do, man. It's an honor for you to come
Thank
in,
you.
man.
I want to come back
and just represent.
Be pleased to.
For the city, for the voters that don't know about the primary election that's coming up next Tuesday, you have to vote. So we want people to come in and vote. I'm just glad you came in there, man.
Thank you.
Definitely a real one, man.
Anything you would like to close out with?
No, thank you all for inviting me. You all have been a staple in the black community and just in the community as a whole for a long time. We need voices. This is the voice that we as policymakers need to hear from, and so thank you all for all the work that you all doing as well. Thank you.
And I want to say one last thing. Even though our show is called Politics or Tricks You Decide, today was politics, no tricks.
Absolutely.
Let's go, man.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.